How did the son of a maid become one of the most bloodthirsty leaders in history? What is the secret behind his rapid rise to power? How did he ruthlessly eliminate all his rivals? How did he transform his country into a great nation? Why did his wife commit suicide? And why did he refuse to exchange his son after he was captured by the Germans? Stay with us and watch the story of the life of one of the strangest rulers of the 20th century and how it ended. Joseph Stalin is one of the most controversial figures in history. He ruled the Soviet Union with an iron fist for more than 2 decades, during which he turned his country into a superpower at the expense of millions of lives. Who was Joseph Stalin? Joseph Vissarionovich Jogashvili. Joseph Stalin's real name was born on December 18, 1878 in Georgia. His father was a poor shoemaker and alcoholic, while his mother was a maid who worked hard to raise him. As a child, Stalin was severely beaten by his father, but his mother dreamed of him becoming a priest, so she sent him to a religious school in Tbilisi, where he began reading secret revolutionary literature and adopting Marxist ideas, which ultimately led to his expulsion. Don't forget to support us by liking and subscribing to the channel to receive all the latest updates. Stalin joined the Bolshevik Party under the leadership of Vladimir Lenin and became one of the most prominent organizers of revolutionary activities, including bank robberies to finance the revolution. He was arrested and exiled to Siberia 4 times, escaping each time, which earned him a reputation as a strong and stubborn man. He chose the name Stalin, which means man of steel in Russian, as a symbol of strength and toughness. Ironically, his enemies nicknamed him the Short Man because he was only about 165 centimeters tall. After the success of the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917 and the establishment of the Soviet Union, Stalin became General Secretary of the Communist Party in 1922. When Lenin died in 1924, a hidden struggle began between Stalin and his opponents for the seat of power, with Leon Trotsky being his most prominent rival, thanks to his extreme cunning and superior ability to set traps and conspire. Stalin managed to get rid of all his rivals one by one. He used totally unfair methods like making up charges, using black propaganda, spreading rumors to ruin his rivals' reputations, and using horrible torture to get confessions. When all that didn't work, he resorted to assassinations until he became the sole leader of the Soviet Union by 1930. In a secret speech delivered on February 25, 1956, Soviet President Nikita Khrushchev, who succeeded Stalin, revealed all of Stalin's crimes. He mentioned that as soon as Stalin took control in 1930, he launched a series of killings against anyone who suspected his loyalty, executing and imprisoning millions in the Gulag camps. Some historians estimate the number of his victims at around 20 million people. One of the bloodiest chapters of his rule was the Ukrainian famine in the early 1930s, in which between 3 and 7 million people died. Wheat and other crops were forcibly collected from peasants, then exported abroad, leaving Ukrainians to starve to death. Stalin unleashed his megalomania and devised agricultural policies that starved his people to death. Not content with that, he executed millions. No one was spared, not even his closest friends. Fearing a military coup against him, he ordered the purge of the Red Army and executed many of its senior commanders, including Marshal Mikhail Tukhachevsky, one of the most prominent military strategists, along with thousands of officers accused of collaborating with the Nazis. He also carried out purges against his most prominent rivals, such as Trotsky, whom he exiled from the Soviet Union and then had assassinated in Mexico in 1940. Stalin also organized a series of show trials against senior Bolshevik leaders between 1936 and 1938, after falsely accusing them of treason and conspiracy. Confessions were extracted from them under torture, and they were all executed. Nikolai Yezhov, head of the secret police, was the tool Stalin used in all these executions. After his mission was over, Stalin got rid of him and had him executed for treason in 1940. Not only that, but Stalin's crimes extended to the forced displacement of entire peoples, such as the Tatars and Chechens. Thus, under Stalin, power turned into absolute dictatorship, and all real or potential rivals were eliminated even if they were Stalin's former allies. Therefore, his reign was one of the bloodiest periods in political history. With the start of World War II, he formed an alliance with Hitler in 1939, but Hitler reneged on the treaty and invaded the Soviet Union in 1941, prompting Stalin to join the Allies in their war against Hitler. Stalin opened thousands of war factories across most of the country, and it was Soviet women who ran these factories, while Soviet men died on the battlefield and women died in the factories from cold and hunger. Despite the Soviet victory over the Germans, the human losses on the Soviet side were very high. In addition to the 20 million who died before the war, about 20 million more died because of the war. After the Soviet victory in World War II, Stalin became a national hero. But after the war, he imposed communist control over Eastern Europe, sparking the Cold War with the US. Stalin died suddenly on March 5, 1953, and some accounts say he may have been poisoned. After his death, his body lay on the ground for 3 days, and everyone was afraid to approach it for fear that Stalin was still alive. Do you find that strange? The truth is that there is nothing strange about it, as Stalin's cruelty was unparalleled, and it was his cruelty that drove his wife to commit suicide to escape her life with him. And it was his cruelty that drove his son to commit suicide after he was taken prisoner by the Germans, and his father refused to exchange him for the German prisoners. Ultimately, Stalin remains one of the most controversial figures in history, leaving behind a heavy legacy of blood, iron, and fire. In your opinion, which is better, sacrificing people and humanity for the sake of a superpower, or preserving humanity even if it delays the country's rise to superpower status? In other words, which is more important, people or the state? I look forward to your answers in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.